Hi there, happy Monday, and welcome to another week in the life of a UI UX designer. I'm John, and if you're new here, I'll be documenting my corporate career and side projects. All right, I'll be honest, this week I am just pretty much impatiently waiting for the Tesla to arrive, but I do have a few things going on the corporate side of work. Today, I've mostly been heads down on some QA work for a project that has been in development for a while. I've mentioned it a few times, but we're in this weird transition period where the scope of work between design and development is definitely getting muddied. And I feel like right now, every project is trying to find the right balance about how much effort to put forth into the handoff with the development team, as opposed to the designers just taking care of most of the front end development and handing off those classes and components to the dev team so that they can just plug up the data on the backend side of things. And this project that I'm currently doing QA on is definitely following more of the old traditional style where we just handed off flat designs to the dev team. So I'm having to do a little bit more QA work than what I personally find valuable. I definitely wish that we just had more competent front-end developers on the development side, or we had more time to do the front-end development on the design side. And while I am going back and forth with that QA work with the dev team all week long, I am also going to be working on the code prototype that I started last week. We got some really great feedback from the business stakeholders and leadership team last week on our designs for the new homepage that we've been working on, and they're really loving the direction. The feedback was very minimal. More specifically, it was about the language of the corporate message that we're trying to portray. So I have a little bit of work on the Figma side just to go back through and implement those notes, and then I am going to get back into the code development probably tomorrow and hopefully have something to show for the end of the week so that we can set a new meeting for the next round of presentations. It feels so good to be on the other side of having to create anything original, and now that I know that everyone is on board with the directions that I've presented, then it's more of a matter of cleaning things up to push it over the finish line towards approval. And on the pop melt personal side of the design side projects, I am very excited to share that the widget Aninote that I created for Figma for tracking web animations has just broken 10,000 users, a very exciting milestone for me personally, and it's really motivating me to circle back around to the idea that I need to be selling something on the marketplace since I have access to do that. It's really just a matter of me setting up my Stripe account, and then I can publish paywall design files and plugins and widgets in the Figma community. So really too good of an opportunity not to be putting any effort into. So as soon as we get back from this corporate video project, hopefully we have a little bit more bandwidth to focus back on those pop melt side projects. All right, I'm going to wrap up this initial pass of design QA on this project and get these notes over to the dev team before the end of the day. I'll catch you guys later. We had an awesome little festival in the neighborhood, so I got to spend some good time with the family this evening. But other than that, I've just been knocking out the vlog editing tonight. I have been pretty good about keeping about a week or two buffer in between the recording and the editing and the posting, but I definitely want to get the editing time of the vlogs down to under 2 hours per week. Currently, it's about 2 to 4 hours for each of the videos to get knocked out, and part of that is just my focus and motivation. I'm sure if I just sat down and really focused on knocking one video out, that it would take me about 2 hours, but I want to consistently get it under that number. So I'm not really sure what specifically I'm going to change at this point, just flagging it as an area that I can make tweaks to in order to ensure the longevity and consistency of this YouTube project. Tomorrow is probably my last full day to really be heads down focusing on the code work before I have other tasks on my plate. So I'm going to try to take advantage of that, wake up and have a really brain healthy day. All right, I am exhausted though, so I'm going to go crash. Catch you guys tomorrow. All right, let's catch up a little bit while I'm making breakfast. I took last night off. I'm feeling particularly unmotivated this week, and I didn't want to try to fake forcing myself to be productive last night, and instead I just decided to rest and go to bed early and then try to wake up today and catch some momentum. So that's what we're doing right now, catching some breakfast, getting a good shave, got to do some laundry as well. I feel like I'm kind of stuck in this mode where I have so many little things that are unfinished right now that it's weighing down on me. So I need to start checking off some tasks today. I have outstanding home tasks. I gotta get this door lock fixed so that our daughter can't access the basement. One of my project managers is getting back tomorrow, so I have a few corporate tasks that I need to really have tied up today so that I can present on my internal meeting tomorrow. But I'm just trying to check off all of my little human needs so that I can summon some energy to be productive today. So let's eat this breakfast, get a good workout in, and see if we can't find some energy. All right, Operation Get Our Shit Together is well underway today. We are catching momentum thanks to taking care of all of our human needs, working out, eating breakfast, and I had a great conversation earlier with my dev team. I think that a big problem in the lack of motivation this week is that I'm doing design QA on a project that I don't feel like was ready to come out of development and move into QA. And so I took some time to align with the dev team to talk about, one, what changes we could make on the current project in order to push it a little bit further before we pick up design QA. It's supposed to move into UAT, which is the user testing, next week. But I just don't feel comfortable handing it off to the business in the state that it's in. It's really interactive and there's a page transition that needs to be seamless. And if you don't pull that off and you're seeing elements kind of jump around the page, then you're losing the whole effect of doing a seamless page transition. And this is indicative of a larger problem with our process. The time to make sure that the designs that we are handing off to developers are actually in a development ready state is not always included in the actual estimate of the project. And the truth is that a lot of the effort that we consider development work, specifically on the front end, probably needs to be reassigned in the organization to the design team. So for these latest homepage designs, I've been mentioning that I'm working on a code prototype. I'm doing that in Astro, and for the first time, I showed the development team what we're capable of pulling off using Astro specifically for prototyping, but hopefully we could be using it on production-ready sites in the future. So we will see how receptive the entire team is when we go over our new processes tomorrow, but I feel like this is really going to streamline things and make sure that each team is working in the area that derives the most impact for the effort that we're putting forth. All that to say, we made some significant progress today and we are finally catching some momentum. And contributing to that vibe being much better, we got a new toy. A new lens. This lens is pretty cheap, but I wanted to scoop a 20mm, specifically one that is much smaller than the 24-70 that I usually have on the camera. And I'm going to hopefully be including more out and about vlogging bits in these videos now. All right, I gotta go try to install this lock on the basement door, but I will catch you guys in the evening. Well, that is so wide. This is the Viltrox 20mm f2.8. And it was so cheap. It was like $180, full frame lens, so tiny and lightweight, perfect little vlog setup. I think I'm going to test out just using this lens for the next few days and see how I feel about it. 20mm is so wide. It's definitely a limited focal length with the kind of character that you can get out of the shots. But I'm curious if the size of this camera setup now, since it's so small, turns out to be more convenient than the convenience of having a 24-70 zoom lens on there, given that that lens is so large. Oh, last thing, I'm also testing out using my smartphone to monitor the shot. I tend to not use this just because the reliability of getting it set up on the Wi-Fi tends to be a bit spotty, and I don't like tinkering with it when I have the transmitting system that works seamlessly every time I turn it on. And sometimes the signal is smooth and sometimes it's extremely choppy, just generally unreliable for any real professional work, but for setting up these vlog shots might be a pretty decent workflow to adopt. All right, I do feel like I am in a good place to present a few updates tomorrow in my internal meeting, but I'm going to try to crash early so that I can wake up and make a little bit more progress on the code prototype to see if I can't get it into a state where I can present it as well. All right, catch you guys tomorrow. God damn, I need to be like even closer. What's going on here? All right, this 20mm, definitely a little bit less flattering than the longer focal length, so we will be switching back to the 24-70 most likely when we are shooting the talking head bits. Another thing that I noticed when switching between these other lenses that I have, the 20mm and the 35mm, I've noticed that if you look back at this laptop screen, it's white. And I haven't changed anything with the color balance. I'm using the same Black Mist Pro filter and the same ND filter on the front of the lens, but when I use my 20mm and my 35mm, the laptop screen shows as pure white, the same as my white balance is set. But when I use my 24-70, the MacBook specifically color cast as a little bit warmer, a yellow, which I don't like, but I don't have enough energy to ever edit out. But I'm very curious why the Sigma lens does that. I need to do a little bit more research on that. All right, I am wrapping up my corporate work for the day though. I had my internal meeting today and I feel like I have communicated exactly what I need to switch the momentum and get myself working on things that are actually productive. Specifically, I think I've got everyone on board with now using Astro for prototyping and allowing the designers to handle a little bit more of the front-end development before we hand things off to the dev team so that our design QA time is cut down significantly. I feel like I did a good enough job grinding on corporate work to the day and I've made enough progress that I can probably knock out a little bit of editing tonight if I have the energy. I'll catch you guys later. Dude. All right. Let's do some straight up true to form raw vlogging today. I already tried to film this, putting away the dishes. I already tried to film this and it was absolutely terrible. I am burnt out and my mood was so shit. Hence why I didn't film anything last night. But I took a second and I actually had a call with my team members and we discussed what our deadlines are and the pressure that we were feeling to be rushing to get something out. I was feeling like that pressure was coming from our internal team and not necessarily from the business. So I just kind of discussed that as a small little unit. And I wanted to clarify that by not getting something into UAT next week doesn't mean that we failed. It just means that we need a little bit more time to reach the standard that we expect of ourselves. And that's not a bad thing. We're not missing a deadline. It's all self-imposed timeline, so it took some pressure off of ourselves. And I feel like everyone was so receptive of it and it pulled the stress level down significantly for all of the members, designers, developers, project managers. And now we can take a breath, reset, and get this project into a place where we feel comfortable. Now, the funny thing about that is that it worked immediately and it seems like now everybody has a little pep in their step to push it over the edge. So the updates that I got from the developers, perfect. We can push this over to our UAT staging environment probably by Monday and then do a final QA on that staging link and send it out to the business. So we are on track and I don't know if we would have been if we didn't have that call. And it's moments like these that I'm feeling that transition to somebody who's helping to manage the success of the team. We are ending the week in such a better place than we started it, which is what we are always aiming to do. So working out, eating healthy, going to sleep. I went to bed at 10 p.m. yesterday. So going to sleep at a reasonable hour is definitely paying off. Cannot recommend it enough. And I have a feeling that we're not going to have any problems finding motivation next week because next week is Tesla week. Oh man, I probably will do a limited amount of corporate talk next week. I think we're going to focus specifically around everything that goes involved with going to go pick up the Tesla and how we feel about buying it. And I am so excited that it has probably contributed to why this week has been feeling like it lasted forever. What are you eating? Yeah. Bacon? Yeah.